Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. And as you can see, it is Friday night, October 18th, not Saturday morning like our usual spot. That Eli has a breast cancer walk tomorrow morning, so he's doing a good civic duty tomorrow, and he's got calling a game. So I'm glad that everyone can join us tonight. And if you can't, just send us comments and at Sports with Mono and Mono at gmail.com. So Eli, how you doing, buddy?
Well, happy Friday Night Light Show edition of the show. This is our first Friday nights edition ever. This
It
is pretty
is.
epic. I mean, we have a lot to talk about, and we've said there's no need for a Sunday show. We'll do it Friday night. And so we could talk about college football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and most importantly, NFL football. What a way to do it. And obviously, yes,
Yep.
tomorrow I'll be at the Meadowlands Breast Cancer Walk in MetLife Stadium. Feel free to please support the cause. You can go onto the Making Strides for Breast Cancer website, click on the Meadowlands link, and you can donate money today. I believe there's about 24 hours left before donations stop from the online website. So please donate. And if you're
Yep.
available, come out to the walk tomorrow morning. It starts at, I believe, 8:30, 10. So head
Great.
on out there.
Great cause. Great thing for people to get involved and take notice. And we're going to start our show with our monologue, which of course is sponsored by Coriano Trucking, and it's kind of in that vein, Eli. Um, you know, you and I were talking before the show. We're getting great viewership. We got our loyal listeners like the Derek Krugs and the Frank Pisanis, the Eric Tenbrooks, the Mike Garveys, the Don Orlowskis, all of the people that are making this show really take off. And I wanted to give a special shout out to one of our original and longtime loyal listeners, Jim Walsh. We talk about sports as kind of an outlet, right? I mean, we go crazy over this stuff, but um, Jim's wife, Adele, is going through some medical things, and when we talk about sports being an outlet, it's more important about life and the way people live it and their health and taking care of themselves. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Jim Walsh and his family, because I know his niece went through some medical things and she pulled through, and he's been a diehard friend of my little brother's, and I just want to throw it back at him and let him know that sports with Mono and Mono, we're human beings and sports is great, but life is better. And I want to give all the best to his wife, Adele. And Jim, we love you, buddy. Thanks.
Absolutely, Jim. Thank you so much. And every week, we go to the email, obviously, to work on the YouTube stuff. And I see his email always pop up, and I mean, it's really
Yep.
appreciative that there's always somebody that emails like that one person, and really appreciate it. Uh,
Yep.
we really do. It's amazing support, and to everybody else, we really appreciate you watching. Don't
Yep.
forget to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, comment if you please on any of the platforms we're on. Like
Yep.
I said, we really, really appreciate it. We're so grateful, and we cannot wait to continue to talk about sports, and
Yep.
we have a comment actually coming in right now. It's from Andrew Carolyn. Happy Friday, and let's go Mets with the heart.
I knew Andrew was going to be with us, and I knew it was going to start it off with a "Let's go Mets." So, Andy, I'm not surprised. So we're going to jump right into it because Major League Baseball. Let's start with that because it's hot off the presses. We're down to the Final Four. The game last night, the
Yep.
Yankee Indians game. If you didn't watch it, I mean, this is what postseason October baseball is all about. Just when you think the game is over, it's not
It
over.
ain't. It
You
ain't
know,
over.
but I think the series is going to be over. I think the Yankees are going to move on. But we have, right now going on, the Mets are running the Dodgers out of Shea Stadium. Um, and, this is 3-1, which is kind of a surprise for Met fans. But I know Andy and none of the Met fans have lost faith at all. And they're coming through big time tonight. So looks like we're going to get a game 6, right?
Yes. Well,
And
we do have a couple comments coming first, and I'll give a score update. Frankie says, "Loving this Friday night time. Good evening, gents." And
thank you,
we go
Frankie.
Derek. He says, "Let's go Yankees."
All right.
So we do have a scoring update. It is the top of the fifth with one out. The Mets are up 10-2. That game is on FS1. And the Yankees are at 8:08 on TBS. Second out just came through as they
Yep.
speak. So
Yep.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised that the Mets are rallying around. It's great for New York sports. It's kind of a
I
surprise.
got some thoughts on it. I just want to say, listen, the Yankees struggled last night. I want to start with the Yankees first. They struggled last night. They gave up a lot of home runs, and I hope this does not lose them momentum. I hope they can continue to stay strong and on this positive note where they can continue to win these games and not slack off, especially tonight, game number 4. You're still in Cleveland. They're coming off of that bad loss last night that went to
Yep.
extra innings, into the 10th inning to be exact. They need to stay focused and on top of it, and they need to make sure that, hey, we want us to win this thing. Let's win game 3, force game 5, and force game 5 to get a win and not have to go back to New York to play a game 6 and hope that doesn't happen to be game 7. They wanted
Exactly.
this series to be done and over with. Let's hope it can get it done here. Over to the Mets. They struggled last night. They really did. They showed that they were not in it to win it. And now tonight, they woke up and smelled the coffee. That's for sure. And now they'll have a day off. They'll head to Dodgers, as long as if the score stays the way it is and they do get the victory tonight. And that's what we want to see from this New York Mets team. And like I said from the beginning, I would love to see a Subway Series. And I hope both these teams can win their respective conferences and games. And I want to see the Battle of New York truly happen.
Well, I think it's still a remote possibility. I think the Mets have a bigger hill to climb, obviously, than the Yankees. I think the Yankees are a much better team than Cleveland. We still got Garrett Cole's going to pitch another game, so I think we're in good shape there. And I know a lot of people, some of our loyal listeners listening right now, are starting to get a little anxious about Aaron Judge and not coming through. And I
Absolutely.
said, just relax. This guy's a pro. He'll come through. We
Well,
got plenty of games to come through, and he's gonna show why he's one of the top 3 best players in Major League Baseball. So
well,
uh,
I had to question myself too when I said Aaron Judge, because in the beginning when you started the series, Aaron Judge was not Aaron Judge really, and then
exactly.
he woke up,
Yep.
smelled the coffee, and now he's getting home runs. And tonight's a big game also for him as we enter game number 4 tonight. Uh, will he win this game tonight with home runs? Will he have a night, or will he just be Aaron Judge? That is not what we saw in the regular season and not what we saw in the last few games. I hope Aaron Judge has a big night tonight, and I really, want him to succeed because I do want to see the Yankees go far. And Aaron Judge has been struggling, and I think that's been taking away a lot of fans, both the Yankees and overall, saying, "Oh well, Aaron Judge is not really living up to expectations of all this hype that he is the greatest," because he hasn't done much right now. So hopefully
No.
he can have a big game tonight as well.
Well, and I fear I don't have any fear that that's not going to happen. The Yankees aren't a small ball team. They're not sacrifice bunting guys over. They're built on power. Soto, um, Judge, and Stanton, and the postseason. John Carlos Stanton. Basically, you know what? He owes us. Because he hasn't played a lot. He missed a lot of games, but
Yep,
in the postseason, he's coming up big. So I think that bodes well for Yankee fans. And the Mets, when you look at their lineup, I mean, Lindor is, he is the catalyst on there, and Alonso hit a 3-run bomb in the first inning. So, you know, the Mets are going to win on momentum. They're going to win on this comeback mentality that they've had, and Mendoza's done a great job, and they still have Sean Manaeus
absolutely.
going to pitch Game 6 most likely. So the Mets can come back from this, but it's a big hill to climb. Down 3-1, they got over one hump. They're going to win tonight, be 3-2, and then it's down to 2 games, and we'll
It's a big
we'll
hump
see
to
how it
climb.
goes.
They
Yep.
can do it. And like you said, Alonzo, Lindor. I can say those 2 names and call it a night because that just goes to show you how much that Mets power is based off those 2 guys. Don't get me wrong. The other guys have definitely been producing. They've been getting a lot of runs. But when you look at the top 2 right now, you got to go to those 2. And that's who the Mets need to focus on, giving them
Mhm.
a higher contract, especially Alonzo, as we've been talking about all of playoffs long. And we'll see what they can do going forward into game number 6 if it happens.
Yeah, what's kind of funny about that is they keep talking about it during the game. Is this Pete Alonso's last game as a Met? And I say, with the way he's performed in the postseason, the
Yeah,
Mets would
that's the
be
thing.
a public relations disaster if they don't sign him. He's not going to get
Absolutely.
Aaron Judge or Juan Soto money, but he is a catalyst in this Mets franchise, and they have no choice but to bring him back and give him the contract that he, is his last year anyway. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
We do have one other note to look at. Tropicana Field, home to the Tampa Bay Rays, will not be ready for opening day next season after the hurricane damage from Hurricane Milton. Where they go next remains unknown. What we do know is that there will be another stadium coming on its way that was planned before the hurricane for
Yep.
the Rays. The
Yep.
question is where they play. Two potential options that I was looking at while doing my research that could be where they play spring training, Charlottes County in Florida. That's one option that they can play. That's where they do spring training. That's where they'll probably play. Another option is it's in Florida, ESPN's Wide World of Sports in Disney World. It's a big stadium as well. You can play baseball there. There is spring training teams. I believe Atlanta goes down there to play spring training. So there are definitely options in terms of stadium wise on where they can go. It's just a matter of where they choose. But again, we have Disney, we have Charlotte County, Florida as two potential options of where they can go next.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is they don't draw anyway, so it's not like this is a big stadium, Tropicana Field, and yes, it's got ravaged by the hurricanes, but they got their eyes on the new stadium, and they don't draw a lot of fans anyway. So there's a lot of like you said, Eli, a lot of ballparks in Florida that they could host major league games because they only draw 15,000 a game anyway. So
Yes.
yeah.
And the other thing, another note they said is they do apparently have rays, like the actual stingrays inside their field, and that was actually they actually were okay during the hurricane, and they actually made it to a different aquarium locally, and they are doing okay. So if you're interested in knowing about how the stingrays are doing, they are okay. They survived the hurricane, and they made it safely to their new aquarium location.
Well, that's good news for all our aquatic
Animal
fans
lovers,
out there.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, Eli. So let's buckle in, get ready because the Yankees are on at 8, and the Mets are on their way to winning and bringing that series 3-2.
We'll keep an update with the score with you as we get towards the end of our program.
Okay, Eli. So let's jump in because it's kind of funny. You and I talk about this all the time. About a month and a half ago, before the NFL season, before the Major League playoffs, before hockey started, that was kind of a lull in sports. And right now, it couldn't be hotter right now. College football is underway.
Absolutely.
And let's jump into
Well,
college football because last week there were some big games. And these are kind of statement games, right? We had
yep,
Oregon and Ohio State, which was a great game, by the way. And
absolutely.
Oregon, right? They're new to the Big Ten. And you know what? This is for Ryan Day,
A statement
he's
win.
already got to be on the hot seat. He hasn't beaten Michigan in 3 years, and you can't have these Pac-12 teams coming to the Big Ten and beat you down, but they did. That was a big game. And I tell you what, one game that was kind of a downer, even though it was high expectations, was the Red River rivalry with Texas and Oklahoma. Always a close
Yeah,
game, always a competitive game. Not so much this year. This was Texas's. Right now, they're the number one team in the country. So they blew Oklahoma off the football field. And another big game was, again, Big Ten again with Penn State and USC. The expectations were Lincoln Riley went to USC and, he was going to transform them back into a powerhouse. And Penn State laid it to him. And that was a big win for Penn State and James Franklin's team.
absolutely.
So this week, though,
We do have some games.
there's some great games here.
I got my
I
four
think,
games I'm gonna pick that I usually I'll do the preview and you do the post game. We'll do that. I got my preview. Four games I'm gonna watch out for. Game days in Austin, Texas. We'll start with that one. So obviously
yeah,
we got to throw Georgia, Texas on the board. 7:30 ABC as game number one to watch out for. Other games to watch out for. UCLA Rutgers at 12 o'clock on FS1. I think that could be a big game. I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
I see UCLA fighting strong, and then you got Rutgers in there. I think that's gonna be a good game to watch out for. It's not my,
yeah. It's not the UCLA we're accustomed to though. So
that's true.
I actually think Rutgers can win that game.
Yeah.
And yeah, you
Other
brought
two
up
games.
Georgia and Texas. By the way, this is the first time I think I can remember that Georgia is an underdog during the regular season.
Can you believe it?
First time in like 50 games.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Other two games to look out for. There was I had Alabama, Tennessee, 3:30 ABC. That could
That's
be
the
a
other
really
one.
good game as well.
Yeah.
LSU, Arkansas, 7 o'clock ESPN. Another good game to watch. And those
Yeah.
are my games to watch out for heading into week 8 of college football.
Well, here's another one that maybe we tend to overlook, but Miami is playing very, very well. The U, as they call them.
Yep,
They got a big game. They're playing Louisville, which is, Louisville is no pushover. So,
absolutely.
um, we talk about all these games. One of them's not going to go the way we think it is, and we're not sure which way. Um, but I know Texas is the number one team. They're loaded. They got, a great quarterback in Ewers. They got a great backup in Manning. But I still believe in Kirby Smart, and I think his backup is against the wall, and everyone's thinking that they're going to get rolled by Texas, and I think Georgia is going to prevail in this game. It's going to be a nail biter for sure. But I think Kirby Smart is smart enough to figure out a way to beat Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns.
That's a good point. I mean, top player. And yeah, you could absolutely make a point. Will they beat Texas Longhorns? They absolutely can. There's
Yeah.
opportunities, and yeah, good points.
Good, but good games though, Eli. Good games
Absolutely.
to yeah.
To
So
watch for
college,
college football.
yeah, college football is awesome.
Absolutely. No question.
So let's move on to the big boys. Let's
Yes,
talk about
indeed.
the National Football League, and
Where do you start?
obviously the week
That's the
started
question.
last night with Denver routing the New
Yeah, we don't
Orleans
want to
Saints.
talk about that game. That was boring. 33-10 was the final. I mean, I would rather watch two baseball games and a reality TV show on ABC than watch that Denver Saints game. That's how bad it was, really.
I bet that's the lowest rated NFL Thursday night game of all time because both the Yankees and the Mets were playing, so the whole New York area wasn't
I
watching
will
it.
double check to see if the ratings are out. I don't know if they were out, but I will double check on that for you.
Okay.
But yeah, that was pretty bad last night.
No,
So let's
I
see
couldn't
here.
even I couldn't even fathom watching it. And first of all, because my feelings, this was right Thursday nights are Amazon Prime. So it's not like you could even flip back and forth because without going and stop streaming and go back and that's a nightmare.
Yeah, the ratings are not out yet. Do not expect the ratings to be out, period, because
Yeah, I
I don't
know.
expect this to be high expectations. But yeah,
Oh well, yeah, I'm sure Roger Goodell would love to bury the ratings because I'm sure it was just
yeah. Well,
nobody
you know
watched
what?
it. I
It's a
should
good
I
thing it
should
was on
have.
Prime Video. So that means you have to pay for a subscription to watch that game.
Yeah, well, no thanks. I'll watch the Yankees and the Mets on free TV as we call
I'd
it.
rather watch the WNBA game that's coming up today. Start previewing that. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but still.
Okay.
Uh, looking at the games from last week, I would be disappointed and shocked about some of these games I'm going to read off. Jaguars Bears 35-16. The Jaguars were horrible, really. I mean, I was disappointed watching that game.
Well,
Really, I mean,
listen.
and now they're going to play Patriots, who are not exactly easy, and it's going to be tough tomorrow. It's not. I keep saying tomorrow. It's like it's Saturday show. It's Sunday in Wembley, and yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. What is it? Why is Jacksonville play more games in London than anybody else? They played last week.
they claim they're better in London, yet they're so far 0-1 pending this
Yeah, I
weekend.
don't think. Listen, I'm starting to question whether or not um, Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. He's
I think
certainly
it has to
not
do with
up
the
in.
coach as well.
Yeah, but he's not in the upper echelon. They're paying him as he's making that kind of money, but he's not producing the results. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
And now another game I want to look at is Ravens Commanders. The Ravens won 30-23, but Washington only lost by 7, not more than 7 points, only 7. Can you believe that we're saying that Washington only lost by 7 and actually showed potential in that game? Isn't that crazy to say?
well, I think a lot of people aren't really surprised. I mean, in the beginning of the season, we didn't know what we were going to get with Jaden Daniels, and now we know that he's a legitimate um, NFL player, and he seems to command leadership of that team. And it's so great to see that somebody of that talent. And we got rid of Daniel Snyder, and now the Commanders are a formidable team. And yeah, but right now, if you look at it on paper, you'd probably have to say with Lamar Jackson, the Ravens look like the team to beat, even though, listen, don't get me started and don't think I'm writing off Patrick Mahomes or any of that stuff. But right now, as it stands, they did enough to win, and Jackson's he's definitely a dual threat, and
Absolutely.
so yeah, so Ravens are looking pretty good right now.
We do have a comment from Derek again. Wow, no love for the Hoosiers.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? He's absolutely right because I'm looking at my notes and I forgot to bring that up. Um, that was my other game I wanted people to watch because this is probably the first time I can remember that an Indiana Hoosiers football game is actually relevant. And, it is. It's a big, big game. They're playing Nebraska this weekend. And Derek, my apologies. I had it in my notes and we just got sidetracked. But yes, it's a big game for them. And you're not the only Hoosier fan listening. Tom Pugh, one of my buddies, who I'm going to bring up on the show later on, as a matter of fact, he's a big Hoosier guy too. So my
Absolutely.
bad, Derek, and it's a big game. I don't think they could
Absolutely.
beat Nebraska, but we'll see.
These two games I want to talk about next in the NFL. Eagles won 20-16 over the Browns. Why was it this close? Are the Eagles that bad that they're losing by 4 points only to the Browns? That's a question I want to ask. The second game, the Buccaneers defeated the Saints. Outblew them 51-27. Isn't that crazy or enough? I mean, Jim, I'll let you go ahead and talk about those two games.
Yeah. Which one? The Eagles? Wow, listen.
Eagles, Browns, and Buccaneers, Saints from
Oh, I
last week.
mean, God, I can't watch Deshaun Watson for 5 more minutes.
But he
I've
actually
seen
kept the
enough.
game to 4 points, though. That's the sad part.
Yeah, but that's because the Eagles are not the team everybody expects them to be.
Well,
And
that's true
Jalen
too.
Hurts is not the quarterback everybody expects them to be. Now, listen, that'll probably change this week. They got the Giants. We'll talk about that game in a little bit as well. But
Yep,
I think I'm not surprised. The Eagles are not as good as certainly as Philadelphia fans think.
absolutely.
Um, and what was the other one you wanted to bring up?
Buccaneers Saints was 51-27.
Yeah, and that's an interesting team, the Tampa Bay, because I know Derek is listening right now, and he's been a big believer in Baker Mayfield, and I have not been a believer in Baker Mayfield, but they have been playing great football, and I'm more than surprised that I thought he's a fluky, streaky guy, but they've been winning, and they've been winning big, and he's putting up points, so I'll give credit where it's due. He's
Absolutely.
starting to play like the number one pick that he was.
Absolutely. Now, the other game I want to go to before we get to our New York teams, Lions Cowboys 47-9.
Oh,
Man, did Dallas look awful. They looked worse than the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers, sadly enough, scored more points than the Dallas Cowboys did last Sunday. Isn't that scary to say that the
yeah.
Panthers, of all teams, scored more points than the Dallas Cowboys? What does this say about Dak Prescott and its coaching staff?
Well, listen, we go back to this. He didn't hold out. He stayed the course, and he was due. And Jerry Jones had no choice. I don't know if he had any other options, but they had to pay him. So
He had
now he's the
tons of
highest
options
paid
available. Why resign him?
because I think if you bring in a new guy, you got to bring in a new system. You got to bring in new coaches. So, do I think he should be the highest paid quarterback?
Absolutely
No,
not.
no.
No.
And by the way, that was an absolute embarrassment to get beat that bad on your home field. And this isn't the first time. This is like the second time this year that they gotten beat really bad
Absolutely.
at home. So things aren't good in Dallas. So, don't think McCarthy's going to be around next year because anybody but Jerry Jones is going to be the scapegoat. So,
Derek
and it's going to
comments
be
and
Mike
says
McCarthy.
Lions are legit terrible loss for Hutchinson, which he
Yeah.
suffered a big
What?
injury in that game last week.
I don't know if you saw that play. Oh God, it was
It was horrible.
horrific. I mean, and he is one of the best defensive players, so that's a big loss for the Lions. But you know what? The Lions and this Dan Campbell mentality, they're for real. And I couldn't be happier for Jared Goff because, when he came in, everybody didn't think he was worthy of the number one pick. And But he was, and he did great. And then things just kind of fell apart a little bit, or McVay lost confidence in him, and he goes to Detroit, and he could have just sulked and took his money. But he is a legitimate quarterback. But that is
Absolutely.
for the Detroit Lions, and God, I hope Hutchinson comes back from that, because it was reminiscent for me of this Tim Krumrie in a Super Bowl when the Bengals played the Niners. It was one of the most horrific things, up there with the Theismann broken leg type thing. And
Yep.
I hope Hutchinson can come back from this. But
They said
it
there's
looks,
no timeline for his return, but he did
yeah, well,
receive
it's not
successful
it's not
surgery.
gonna it's not gonna be this year. That's for sure. You know that.
And Frankie comments with a question. He asks, "Think there's any chance for the Giants actually making a move for Stafford? I love to see it happen."
I know, and I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Stafford is winding down on the career. He's starting to break down a little bit. He's not the quarterback that he once was. At least we have a serviceable backup. If Abel decides to make the change, sits Daniel Jones down, is Drew Lock going to bring him to the Super Bowl? No,
Maybe.
but do you want to give up draft picks and things to get Stafford for a team that's pretty much going nowhere? I mean, I don't think they're even going to get out of
But
Philadelphia
why
this
haven't they
week.
started Locke yet? That's what I want to know. Locke wasn't bad in Seattle. Give the poor man a shot. I don't want to hear nothing about the preseason, because preseason doesn't count. Like, in terms of regular season and when it really matters.
Yeah,
Preseason
I
was one
know.
argument. He's a good player in the regular season. Look what he did in Seattle. I mean, he did win some games for them.
And listen, my monologue a few weeks ago was Daniel Jones, and nobody was a bigger Daniel Jones supporter than me. But I've
Absolutely.
seen enough of it over 6 years, and he's injury prone, and you know what? When we start thinking about it, and everybody goes crazy, oh, he's making $40 million a year. Who isn't making $40 million a year? But the Giants have an out, and he plays a good game here and there, but there's something missing, and I think it is time for a change. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if Dable has the confidence in Drew Lock. I know he has confidence in Daniel Jones, but I think he may be running out of that level of confidence. So.
All right. And Derek does agree with me. He says, I agree, Eli. All right. Thank you. And I mean, yeah, Giants. I mean, look at that game last week. They should have won that game, 17-7, the final versus
Yep.
Cincinnati. Not much more I could say there. But the other game I want to talk about too, before we move on to some NFL news, before we get to our picks, was that Bills Jets game. What we saw basically was they improved on the offense because they switched play calling, but the defense seems to be going down. And I know the flags were an issue, and that's what I want to say. I mean, listen, 23-20 wasn't a bad score. That's just my thoughts. This week, the Jets have two Jets have. I don't think
Steelers.
Steelers. Thank you.
Steelers.
There you go. Steelers. I couldn't find their logo, the name, but yeah, Jets have the Steelers this weekend, and yeah, I don't know. I
Well,
worry about them.
listen. I mean, we could talk about the Jets all weekend. My monologue last week was specific that Aaron Rodgers, and I talked
Yeah.
about this for 6 weeks, that I knew Devontae Adams was going to the Jets. He was trade bait. He sat out
Yes,
and started
absolutely.
sulking,
There was
and that's
reasons.
what Aaron Rodgers wanted. So that's what Aaron Rodgers gets. And now it deflects. The fact that they fired Salah, that took away from Aaron Rodgers, shouldering some of this responsibility. And you know what? He's 40 years old. He's not the player that he was. And I don't think Devontae Adams is going to turn that team around. And everybody kept talking about the Jets have one of the best defenses in the league. And I've been saying for 2 years, what am I missing? These guys give up
Absolutely.
30. These guys give up 30 points a game. The defense is at least, if you had a defense, you could keep your team in the game, and then Rodgers can try to weasel a win out. And it's just not. It's colliding, and this whole ship for the Jets is going down. Devontae Adams is not going to right the ship for the Jets. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And well, we do have a comment from Frankie. He says, letting Salah go was a mistake. I don't think he should have been the head coach, but he will be a great DC, defensive coordinator, and won't be unemployed for long. And I 100% agree with that. Now, where would he
I don't
go?
know.
What is your suggestion of where Salah could go? Maybe the Colts, maybe Dallas. Where do you think he should potentially go?
I don't know though. I think I'm missing something. Robert Saleh was probably the most least interactive head coach I've ever seen. He had no
Again,
input into the game at
and I think
all.
that's what Frankie's saying though.
Right.
He's not
Okay.
head coach material, but he's definitely defensive coordinator worthy because of the way he's been coaching this defense.
Okay, but the defense hasn't been great, but he did coach a good San Francisco
And now it's been
defense.
going downhill even more if you saw last week's game.
I know. So yeah, he'll definitely get a job if he wants a job. He's getting paid. I saw the statistic. He's making like $50,000 a day to be unemployed. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
All right, Eli. Let's talk
some
about
other news before we go to the picks. Atlanta will host the 2028 Super Bowl. Commanders Bears has been flexed to 4:25 on CBS, and Eagles Bengals, originally scheduled for that time slot, moves to 1:00 for Week 8. That is next week's set of games. Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas is expected to be out for the season. He received successful surgery this past week.
That's a big loss to the Giants, by the way.
Absolutely. Lions defensive tackle Alia McNeil signs a 4-year extension, $55 million guaranteed with the Lions. And they also extend David Montgomery's contract with the Lions through 2027. The Texans are trading running back Cam Akers to the Vikings. Amari Cooper, another big name we didn't talk about, has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. The Browns received draft picks in exchange for that one. That was a good one and one of the best trades of the day, other than Devontae Adams that happened with the Jets.
Yeah, by the way, though, Amari Cooper leads the league in drop passes, so I don't know how big a deal that is.
That's true. And the last note is Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed plays on injured reserve. This is a season-ending injury, and he is now out for the season. Go ahead. We'll get to the comment.
Yeah, go ahead. Comments first. Come on.
Okay. Do you think the Steelers will return to Wilson at any point, or are they going to keep rolling with the hot hand?
No,
and that's a great question.
But I think it's already been for some reason. Tomlin is not 100% behind Justin Fields. I know the guy's 4-2, but I think he's going to start Russell Wilson this week. So he must know something we don't. But
I want to say this: what has he done in Denver? Look at Denver this year and how they're winning games, and look at Denver with Russell Wilson last year. Do you notice a comparison? Do you notice the amount of game difference? How is this worthy of a start? Justin Fields has brought this team to a 4-2 start entering week number 7. He should be the starter, Justin Fields, not Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson did nothing at all. He sat on the bench for 7 straight games, Jim. 7 straight games entering this one. And that included the preseason run. That is not worthy enough to just get the start out of nothing. It really is coming down to connections and who the person likes better. In this case, it's Russell Wilson, and it's not Justin Fields, even though he brought this team to a 4-2 record so far.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think Fields has earned the opportunity to go until he can't win anymore. But for some reason, Tomlin likes. And listen, this is coming from you, who was a Seahawk guy.
I was a Seahawks fan, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this could backfire on Tomlin. I really do think it could backfire on him.
And this could really affect them because we know that they're off to a decent start right now. If Fields continues to play the way they are and win against the Jets this weekend with Justin Fields, then the Steelers are for real. If they lose this weekend to the Jets, and that includes whether or not starting to Russell Wilson, will affect the future for this Steelers team.
Yeah. No question. This could.
And I just do the energetic voice because you have no choice. I mean, especially in this situation.
Yeah, this could really blow up on Tomlin. This is a head scratcher for me too.
And now it's time to look at the standings chart, which I hate to pull up.
All right, but hold on. I want to get one more NFL note, and this is notable. So now there's a big conflict of interest. Now Tom Brady, the lead color guy on Fox, is now the part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And they welcomed him in. So there is, I don't know if Roger Goodell is going to step in and say, or Fox is going to step in and say there is just too much of a conflict of interest here. I don't know how this is going to pan out, but you
Fox
can't get away
because they like him.
Yeah, Brady's everywhere. He's everywhere. You're right. All right, bring that crown. Who was wearing that crown up there? Let me see that. Oh, look at that. I'm on a roll, Eli. I'm on a roll.
17-7. Eli 10-14. Jim goes 4-0. I went 1-3 last week.
All
I
right.
hate
Well,
putting
let's
this.
see.
I mean, it's really sad, but we got to make the picks. I mean,
All right. Let's see
we
if
could
you can
spin
right the
the whole
ship
thing all
this
we
week.
want, but
Make
yeah.
this a horse race. Don't make me don't make me be like Secretariat and win by 31.5 lengths here. All right. Come on.
All right, let's see what you got.
All right. I got 4 games here. I'm going to go through the games here, get my picks, and then I'll turn it over to Eli.
Absolutely.
So, couple of really good games, couple of snoozers, but we
Absolutely.
don't just pick the easy games. So, big game I think is Houston Green Bay, and I mean, we all know the way CJ Stroud is playing. They got a lot of weapons there, and but Green Bay and they're at home. Um, and Jordan Love is healthy now and he's playing good. I'm going to take Houston on the road to beat Green Bay. That's
Okay.
going to be maybe a surprise to some. And then the other big game is the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. And I mean, at some point, the Cinderella slipper is going to fall off Sam Darnold's foot, and I don't think they're as good as their record indicates. Although he's played very, very well, he's got a lot of good weapons. But I'm going to take Detroit on the road to beat
Really?
Minnesota. Even though Hutchinson's out, I still think they got a lot of weapons, and I like Detroit. I like Campbell. He knows what he's doing. Kind of a crappy game, if you will. The Las Vegas Raiders and Tom Brady's Raiders are going to be taking on the Los Angeles Rams. And I don't know what's happened to the Rams. I know they got injuries. Cup's been out and Kuka's been out, and it's just not and Stafford's not the same guy. But I like, even though I don't think much of Antonio Pierce, they don't have a quarterback. They got a quarterback problem. But I think I'm going to take Las Vegas this week.
Really? Not
And
the Rams. You're taking the Raiders.
no, I'm taking the Raiders over the Rams. Yes, sir.
Raiders over Rams. Wow.
Okay. And then the fourth game is the Chargers on Arizona. Now I know Derek, my buddy, is sitting there. He's a big Kyler Murray supporter. I'm not, but I don't think much of the Chargers. I think Herbert's getting a little overrated for his performances, and they haven't shown that they could win week after week after week. And every now and then, Kyler Murray does play a good game. But I think Marvin Harrison is out, even though I'm still going to take Arizona in the upset this week.
Really?
So here's my 4 games.
I'm shocked. And all right, let's go through the list. Texans Packers, 1:00 CBS. The Packers are definitely going to give the Texans a fight, no question asked. But I'm going to take the Texans in the victory here. Score prediction of 24-23. Lions Vikings, 1:00 on Fox. Fantastic matchup. The Lions are still hungry. They got 47-9 victory versus Dallas. Can they do it again versus the Vikings this week? We're also coming up of a scary win versus the Jets. The Vikings are going to still stay perfect. Give me the Minnesota Vikings, 35-32.
Okay.
The Raiders Rams, 4:05 on CBS, and then we go to the comments. Raiders Rams, 4:00 on CBS. I mean, really, the Raiders have been really horrible and slacking off.
Yeah, they're horrible.
So I got to take the Rams. I'm taking the Rams in this one. And
the Rams are horrible anyway. Yeah. Okay.
I'm taking the Rams in this one. You have the Raiders. I have the Rams. Chargers Cardinals, Monday night, 9:00 on ESPN Plus. That's the ESPN Plus exclusive game. So yeah, if you didn't know that, it's exclusive. There's a doubleheader Monday night. The first game, 8:15 ESPN, is Ravens Buccaneers on ABC and ESPN, and the Chargers Cardinals is at 9:00 on ESPN Plus exclusively.
And that means I have to pay to watch that game?
Correct. You got to pay for ESPN Plus, Jim, if you want to watch the Chargers Cardinals at 9:00 on ESPN Plus.
No, thank you. Anyway,
and it's at 9:00, so I'll be in bed anyways. Next game. So for that game for Chargers Cardinals on ESPN Plus, I'm taking the Chargers 35-14 in the victory. So I have Chargers, Rams, Vikings, Texans in the victory. And now we go to some comments. Derek says we finally agree.
Okay.
All right.
Eli, I'm gonna tell you this. This is a good opportunity because we got 4 games. We differ on 3 of them. So I'm either going to separate from the pack, or you're going to make a rally and come back and get back into the hunt for the crown, which is still 12 weeks away. So.
Well, we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, we're working back to it.
Okay. So listen, before we go off, because I know we go off football. So next week is probably the game of the year. It's St. Joe's and Bergen Catholic, 2 of the top powerhouses in New Jersey. Looking forward to that. Bergen Catholic, like I said, they're number 1 in New Jersey. They were the number 1 team last year, and until you knock them off, they're going to be number 1. So this is a big game for St. Joe's, coming off a big loss to Frankie's Don Bosco Ironman last Friday night. So I'm sure that'll be broadcast on NJ.com as the game of the week.
Yep.
Gotta be.
And
all right, Eli.
So you got a big game there in same areas. They have their semifinals game for the NJC tomorrow versus Glen Rock, 1:00. I'll be at the public address announcer following the breast cancer walk. And if they win, they're going to the championship next week for the NJIC. That'll be pretty huge. So all eyes on tomorrow's game.
Well, listen, I'm pulling from my partner's school, so I'm
am for yours as well. Fantastic press box you guys had.
Oh, thank you.
Because I was doing the Bergen Stars Pee Wee football game last week.
Right, live from St. Joe's.
I was live from St. Joe's inside the press box, and man, they got comfy chairs over there. I mean, really, I got to buy one steal one from my house.
Well, there's a little backstory, by the way, because when I was in high school, the rivalry between St. Joe's and Bergen Catholic was so bad that somebody, nobody knows who, burned down the St. Joe's press box. That's how intense the rivalry was. So it's obviously since been rebuilt, and that, like you said, it's kind of like a suite in MetLife Stadium now for broadcast.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, you learned something new.
Isn't that a
Jim? Were you involved in this fire attack?
Absolutely not. I was a player, and I had nothing to do with it. I don't advocate.
Were you in school when that happened, or like when was this happening?
Yeah, it was when I happened, and that's why.
Really?
Do
you remember what grade you were in?
When I was a senior, we didn't play Bergen Catholic because the rivalry was too intense.
Wow,
isn't that something? Isn't that something?
I never heard of that before. A rivalry too intense. Wow.
Yeah.
So you learn something new every day.
How about it?
Wow.
Okay, Eli, let's jump into some random points, which of course is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. I got a couple random points that I'll bring up, and then you can take it over. So when we're talking about college football, how about this? Army and Navy in the top 25 for the first time since 1960. How about that?
Wow.
Top 25. And Army has a big game tomorrow against East Carolina, I believe. So
I think the big game is next week, Army Notre Dame at MetLife.
Yeah.
That's at MetLife next Saturday.
Yep. I wanted to bring this up too. From world of NHL, Evgeny Malkin for the Pittsburgh Penguins scored his 500th goal. And what's unique about that is it's only happened twice that 2 teammates have scored 500 goals as teammates, and that's Malkin and Sidney Crosby. And the other was Wayne Gretzky and Yari Curry for the Edmonton Oilers.
Wow.
Pretty interesting, right?
And he just had an accomplishment too, Sidney Crosby. He said that he became the first player to reach 1,600 NHL points. And the last player to do so was Jaromir Jagr in 2011.
Jaromir Jagr. Yes, it was. Yep. So, I mean, listen, I remember when Sid the Kid was drafted number 1, he was a can't miss. And you know what? He's a Hall of Famer. 1,600 points is amazing. A lot of people don't like him. Certainly Ranger fans don't like him, but you got to admire him as a player. Big time.
Well, I'm going to actually be at the Devils game tomorrow. Speaking of that. So on top of the breast cancer walk, calling the St. Mary football game at 7:00, I'll be at the Prudential Center. So I'm going from East Rutherford to Newark tomorw. So I got a busy Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can see the
Instagram little guy you are. Huh?
For the journey. Yeah. So you go from walk to football to hockey in one day.
Good for you.
Hey, gotta love it.
You gotta love it. I do. I admire your chutzpah. You take all this on. It's great. And listen, one other thing, and this is something that we talked about before. Surprising news that Tony Bennett steps down, resigns as the head coach
Yes,
of Virginia. And, listen, caught everybody off guard. But
100%.
this is not a big surprise because we talked about like Nick Saban and Jay Wright and all these other guys that have stepped down from coaching because of this portal and the way it's become, and it's impossible for these guys to build the cohesiveness to win a championship. So Tony Bennett is just like Nick Saban
Absolutely.
said, I've had enough of this. It's a
Time to
different
give up.
world. It's not the world we used to, recruit for and have guys for 4 years. Big news out of Virginia because he won the 2019 national championship with the
We do
Cavaliers.
have a comment from Eric. Happy Friday evening to all. Eric, thank you for joining us. And you want to talk about a loyal listener that's always there? That's Eric. And I appreciate
You
for the comment as well. And it's a Friday
you better
night.
believe.
Our fans still come together. Love it.
Go ahead, Eli. Give us some random points here.
All right, we got a lot of them. First, we had a goalie goal this week. The Minnesota Wild goalie, Gilip Gustafsson. I probably said that wrong. Gustafsson scoring a empty net goal. First goalie goal of the season goes to Minnesota Wild. So congratulations on that. We go to the next. We go to the Blue Jackets. They burned 13 seconds off the clock for Johnny Hockey to honor his legacy. Johnny Gaudreau ahead of their home game versus the Panthers. It was actually during the regular season. They burned 13 seconds off the regular game clock to honor him. That's pretty epic.
You know what? I got to tell you, that was such a moving tribute to Johnny Gaudreau by Columbus.
Absolutely.
I mean, they started the game with 4 players on the ice, and I think I forgot who they were playing, but they also wore number 13 on their uniforms for Johnny Gaudreau. It was heartbreaking news that when it happened, and the way the Columbus Blue Jackets honored him, 2 thumbs up. Great moment in
100%.
sport.
We do have a scoring update. It is 11-6 Mets. The Dodgers are slowly coming back. It's the bottom of the 7th with no outs.
Game over.
All right. Other news happening. The NHL Frozen Frenzy game will be this Tuesday, October 22nd. Every single team in the NHL will be playing. The Whip Around the Red Zone style show will be available from 7 to 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus, and 8 to 12 p.m. on 8 to 12 in the morning on ESPN 2. And there obviously will be 2 games exclusively on ESPN, and every other team will be playing as well. So you got to love it there. We have a lot going on in the NHL. Another comment coming in. They also have Skittles and purple Gatorade because that was his pregame snack.
Yes, they did. That's actually very good. That was a tribute to Johnny Gaudreau, and that was the Florida Panthers was the team they played. That was great.
Yes. Other news happening. They ranked actually which out of all the 4 major playoffs, which major playoff would you get rid of? NFL, NHL, MLB, or NBA? Which playoff would you get rid of? It was like one of those things. Like, how they would say, oh, only keep this and get rid of that as a joke. If you had to get rid of one playoffs, which one would you get rid of out of all those 4 I mentioned?
I would get rid of the NBA because I don't have a passion for the NBA like I once did. That's why.
I agree 100%. And now where would you rank the other 3 in terms of like best, second, third? I mean, obviously we know football's number 1, but where'd you put MLB and NHL?
Well, listen, I mean, there's no question. I mean, the NFL playoffs rule and they have wild card Saturday, and then, I mean, it's just a moneymaker. But Major League Baseball, we're seeing what's going on right now. The Yankees and the Mets have basically taken over New York, and it's, ratings for everybody. And, the NHL season is so long. And, I mean, the
Not as
offseason is
long as MLB, though.
If you look on paper, the season on a calendar level is much longer. You got to win. Well, each playoff series in the NHL is a 7-game series. So that's true. That's what makes it long.
Yeah. Well, Derek says he'd rather get rid of the NHL.
I know he is because he's an NBA guy, and I appreciate that.
NFL, NHL, MLB, get rid of NBA. That's how I rank the order. Becton, by the way, is winning 14-7, if I'm not mistaken, right now to 14-13 over Butler in the NJC semifinals game happening now as well. We got a scoring update from a friend.
And Derek, by the way, is a big Indiana Hoosiers fan, so he's excited because they have number 1 recruiting in the country. So,
All right. I got a couple other random points. Wednesday's game 3 in the WNBA was electric, ending in a Liberty victory, 80-77. They won this and now lead the series 2-1 if they win tonight. And tonight's game at 8 o'clock on ESPN in game 4, they will be WNBA champions and will be the first New York basketball team to bring home a championship for basketball since the New York Knicks in 1973. Basketball could go back to New York in a championship. Isn't that crazy?
and I am sitting here humbly, but I remember that 1973
Oh,
season.
well, just want to point this out. We do have the New York Football Club won the last major sport that won something in our area, and that was, of course, recently New York Football Club won the championship for soccer.
Well, that was
And we hope,
NYCFC. Yeah. they
yes,
won it, yeah.
and now we hope the WNBA and the Liberty get it done so we can bring a basketball championship to Barclays Center, hang it up in the rafters, and to say we won something in basketball. It ain't NBA style, but we won in the WNBA.
No, it's not going to be the Nets. That's for sure.
Well,
Tell
we
you
do
that
that.
right now.
Other news happening. Forward Doug McDermott has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Kings in the NBA world. Kenny Albert called his 500th NFL game on Fox last Sunday, so congratulations to him. And
Yep.
the last news, off topic, SpaceX made a crazy catch last week. Did you see that, Jim? With the rocket, it was a standing tower, and they caught the rocket. Just I'm going to use a pen as an example. It's going to drop this pen, and this is the tower, and you just catch it like that, and like nothing. It's pretty impressive what they did.
I can't believe you brought that up because it was absolutely amazing. It was actually the booster from the rocket itself, which disengaged from the rocket, and it found its way back into the launching pad. It was, I mean, we're talking about sci-fi here to the next level. That was amazing.
Listen, I know that they have the barges where you just land the rocket and that's it, call it a day. But the fact that the tower caught the rocket, that's what made this a special random point. Because where else will you see our tower catch a rocket? Nowhere else. Impressive. Comment from Diego Cruz. Hello, boys. And thank you for watching, Diego. And that's my random points. What a way to end it off.
That was good stuff, Eli. Good stuff.
And now we go to the entertainment segment, sponsored by Vital Selections. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Yes, and they have a great product, and it's a healthy product, and try it out. And so, okay, I'm going to give my movie recommendation, and I know some of my loyal listeners, especially the younger guys that live in Hoboken, no names to be mentioned. Great movie though. Some Like It Hot. It was Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Marilyn Monroe. It's very, very funny. Just because it's in black and white doesn't mean it's not great. This is a great movie.
All right, we do have a comment before I get to my picks. My boy Gil is looking dialed in. Let's go Yanks from Frankie.
That's Louise Heel, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's go to my picks. Well, I'm gonna go TV shows. First off, I just found this out this week. Phineas and Ferb, the iconic cartoon show, is coming back next year to Disney Channel and Disney Plus, 40 episode. It's an iconic summer series. Fantastic show. You gotta love it. Doofenshmirtz, especially, and Perry.
Wait. What's the name of this? What's the
Phineas
name of this?
and Ferb. Phineas and Ferb.
Okay, I don't know anything about it.
Okay, well, you're gonna learn too. So Phineas and Ferb will be coming back next year to Disney Channel and Disney Plus for 40 episodes. If you've seen it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, you don't. But can't wait for that to return. My overall pick, though, Guys Grocery Games on the Food Network. I mean, if I have nothing better to watch on TV, I'll watch Guys Grocery Games on the Food Network. Just seeing people run around them with their grocery carts, picking up food and trying to cook it. That's pretty amazing to me.
Well, you are absolutely adorable, Eli. I'll give you that.
All right, let's go to some pictures.
Yeah, I got a couple. And listen, I was just cruising around and I saw this picture. This used to be one of my favorite ball players. He was Carl Eller, member of the Purple People Eaters of the Vikings back in the 70s. And I just saw it, and the picture is him playing the Giants in Yankee Stadium in 1971. He's a Hall of Famer. He was one of my favorite players of all time. So I stumbled on it, want to see. Now, how about this little future firefighter here? That's my grandson, Hudson.
Fire Prevention Week.
Yep. It's Fire Prevention Week. That's why now he's an honorary member of the Chester Mendham Fire Department. How cute is that?
Wow. And the final one.
And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Why are you putting that picture of Aaron Rodgers up there?" Well, no, that's not Aaron Rodgers. That's one of my that's one of my loyal listener and one of my dear friends, Tom Pugh, who now lives in Kansas City. But he went through the Aaron Rodgers thing and had a torn Achilles, and it's no joke. And just to put it into perspective, my friend Tom, was a heart transplant recipient about 2 years ago, and he's thriving. So, these are the feel good stories. He's a loyal listener to the show, but he's also a dear friend. And get well soon, my friend. He just got his cast off after about 3
Absolutely.
months. Yeah.
Absolutely. And now we go to some notable passings this week.
Yeah, and I'm going to let you start because one of them is from, I think, our younger audience members will certainly feel a little bummed out over Liam Payne. Tell us
Yes.
about it.
So, no sports notable passings. We'll start with that first. No sports notable passing, which was excellent to hear. But we have some other notable passings. Liam Payne, One Direction star, has died in Argentina at the age of 31. He was intoxicated and on drugs and fell off his balcony. The police did actually warn the authorities that he would be doing something, knowing how high and drunk he was. And it's sad to say, but if you don't know One Direction, they were a popular teenage band. They were known as the Beatles of the 21st century. That as they like to call it. They were a popular teenage boy band from the 2010 to 2016 era. You may know Harry Styles from his music. He was a part of the One Direction band. Liam Payne was one of them. You may hear some of those songs. What Makes You Beautiful, best song ever. And some of these are great songs out there. Okay. You have to have heard them. You may have heard them in a party. One Direction, though. Liam Payne. And you have to honor the band, really, because he was part of the band. So you honor the band. You don't really watch individually. You look at it from the band perspective and what they've done and what he took part of. And RIP to Liam Payne.
Oh, no question. You got to honor the band. And, but it's just another story of a tragic ending to a great
Stay off
fairy
the alcohol,
tale.
stay off the drugs, bottom line.
Right. And one other one from Hollywood.
And I have another one.
Mitzi Gaynor. And I know a lot of people won't know her, but Mitzi Gaynor was a terrific dancer, danced with Gene Kelly. So back in the 50s, and she was also the star of the movie South Pacific, which was a popular musical about World War II that there ever was. And she was a beautiful woman, and she had a great career, and she was 93 years old.
We have a comment from Diego. He says, the Beatles of the 21st century. That's a big reach. Well, that's what the news outlet said, not me.
Okay.
The other note is New Jersey Transit had a big crash this weekend on the Riverline light rail this weekend. On Monday, it killed the operator of the vehicle. Her name was Jessica Haley. She was 41 years old and a mother of three boys. So RIP to her. And hopefully they can inspect the rails better now, especially when there are down trees in the area.
Yeah, and those are trains that we've all been on, the New Jersey Transit trains. It's a terrible thing when something like that happens. Yep.
It's a light rail that happened in near the Trenton area.
Terrible.
Operated by New Jersey Transit. And
Okay, guys. Well, listen, Eli.
What a Friday show, Jim. I'm pumped. The Mets are on. We have basketball starting in 2 minutes. We have Yankees starting in about 10 minutes. You got to be pumped. And it's a Friday night. What a show.
Absolutely. So now all of our listeners that have been listening to the show, they're going to go and flock to the bars and watch the Yankees in Hoboken. So I know.
All righty.
I know Derek and Frankie are doing that, or they're ordering in and watching it in their place. So
all right. Just
good
be careful.
Luck, enjoy it.
Don't go crazy.
Eli.
And Derek says, let's go Yankees.
You bet. No, it was great doing it Friday night. I wanted to make sure that we got it before the college football because it's such a big day in college football. And you got a busy day tomorrow, my friend. And proud of you doing the breast cancer awareness thing. Good luck to you, St. Mary's. And not going to wish you good luck on your picks because I like wearing that crown. But anyway.
All right, well, I do wish myself good luck, though. I wish you luck, too, as well, Jim. But I want the crown. Diego says, good show as usual. Thank you, Diego. Thank you for everybody who's watching. And don't forget to comment at the end of the show right here on YouTube.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care. See you next week.
Have a great day tomorrow, my friend.
All right, bye-bye. Take care, everyone.
You got it. Bye.